began. It's the first day of fall. It's September 21st. We have a very windy, gray, cool day. The ferries aren't running. We've got high seas. There's a coastal storm going on out in the ocean. And I'm so grateful I don't have to get on a plane because we're watching some of these flights come in and they're coming in. Oof. And I'm glad I didn't have plans to go off this weekend because we would have had to go to a plan B because of the cancellation of the ferry. So I'm very content. I'm happy to be here with you. I'm happy to share with you some of my favorite things this time of year. The obvious one is knitting, but I have so many others. And I know most of you in the knitting community, you feel the same way. It's the time of year where we get to hunker down, drink tea, bake, make a stew or a soup, light a candle, enjoy some beautiful foliage and fall flowers, and think about winter, but not have to really go there yet. So some of my favorite things this time of year, I just love when I get up in the morning, and I like to get up early, that it's starting to be a little dark when I get up. So I get up and I turn on a little lamp and I light my candle and I get my coffee going. And now I have a puzzle on the table, and I wanted to tell you about this puzzle company that I found. My mother and I went into this lovely gift shop in Tiverton, Rhode Island, and it's on Tiverton Four Corners. So I grew up knowing this little area because Portsmouth, where I grew up, is on the island of Aquidneck Island. And there's a small bridge that takes us over to Tiverton, Little Compton, Fall River, the mainland of, as if you were going to start heading north in Rhode Island, it would be that part of the mainland. It's very picturesque part of the state, lots of farms, Christmas tree farms. We have Helga's chicken farm, lots of beautiful homes. They have done a great job with zoning, and I believe you have to have at least 2.5 acres of land to build a house, so you don't have houses right on top of each other. Apple orchards, and anyway, at Tiverton Four Corners, there is one of our favorite ice cream shops, homemade ice cream. And there's this coffee shop, which has expanded. So it was a coffee shop that became a coffee, lunch, breakfast, sandwich kind of place, into salads. They bought the building, the two historical colonial buildings on each side of them. And now we have a kitchen gift shop and a garden gift shop. And my mother and I went, and we could have moved in. Well, I mean, we were both just so happy. It was right up our alley. It's everything we love. We love having a cappuccino. We love having lunch out. We love beautiful things and gardens and gift items. And so we spent many hours there, and I can't wait to get back there. So while we were in the little garden shop, we saw these vintage puzzles. And this is the one I chose, which is called The Beekeeper's Guide to Pollinating Honey Plants. And the company is Cavallini and Company. They're out of San Francisco. You can go online. They also have them on Amazon. And I really enjoyed this because I put a puzzle on my dining room table. It's a big surface. We don't use it all the time. I usually just have, some kind of an arrangement on it. So this time of year, I like to do a 1,000-piece puzzle. I can get it in the middle of the table, plenty of room for my pieces, and I'm looking out. And I'm looking at my most of my lavender is pruned, but I left one for the bees, and the bees are still kind of active. And so as I'm making this puzzle and I'm thinking about the summer with the bees and the hornets and my lavender, it's been a wonderful experience. I don't know if you're a puzzle maker, but I find a lot of joy in it, and it's one of the few things that can tear me away from my knitting. So I'll get up early in the morning when it's still dark. I'll turn my dining room light on, get my coffee going, and I'll sit at the puzzle table for a little while, and then I'll go and I'll knit. And I'm showing you a picture of the finished one because I couldn't stop. I had to finish it, and I just ordered, not this company, but I ordered another puzzle that has pumpkins and another puzzle that has an autumn scene. So I'll keep a puzzle on the table as long as we're not having company. I'll keep a puzzle on the table right through until maybe even Thanksgiving. Okay, so look at the colors, right? And these beautiful sunflowers. So I'm just gonna remind you about this opal yarn. It's made in Germany. I talked about it last time we were together. It's the Vincent Van Gogh collection. And this one is sunflower. And I mean, what do you think? It's It's sunflowers. I had to buy another skein. I thought I was going to give this pair away, and I can't. I made this pair for myself, and I'm going to have to make another. And I've been online, and I realized I needed all of them. And I think I showed you this one. I finished this one. And I've ordered the yarn to make that painting and that painting. and we all know this one. And look at this, look at the colors. Look at the colors in this yarn. So I have the Van Gogh collection, the Vincent Van Gogh collection. I'm keeping a pair on the needles, and these I think have to be mine. I mean, don't you think? Look at that. Okay. Let's get to the knitting. I do have a lot of fall things I still want to talk about, but let's get to the knitting first. So what am I wearing? This is the Knitting for Olive cardigan. I think that's the full name. I'll put it down here. And last time I showed this to you, I asked your opinion about buttons. I found some pretty leather buttons. Some of you thought that would be nice. Some of you said maybe just a clear button so that you wouldn't, distract from the beautiful color and the pattern. Some of you said to find something maybe in a similar color. Well, this morning when I decided to wear this, now see, I have no buttons on yet. I have it on with jeans. I have it on with my brown belt. I got I love the sleeve. I really wanted the sleeve to be, big and cozy, and I got that. And I did the double button band. I do have buttonholes lined up and ready to go. I'm not going to rush into it because I think it looks pretty good without the buttons. If I'm going to wear it with jeans and a brown belt, maybe I wouldn't mind seeing my brown buttons. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. And I'm usually not that indecisive about anything, to be honest with you. So I'm just going to wear it. It's a perfect day to be wearing it in the house because this is just still a short sleeve linen top. But I'm getting a cozy vibe, a cozy feeling. This was just a beautiful design by Knitting for Olive. I did go over this in great detail in another episode. I'll make a note of that. I did not use Knitting for Olive yarn. I used Valley Yarn, which is Webb's company. And again, I did mention that. It's just beautiful. And I have not made a whole lot of cardigans in my knitting years. But it really inspired me to do that. So if you're looking for a nice cardigan, I do recommend this pattern, and it sparked me to want to make another cardigan. And again, I think I had just bought the yarn and the pattern when we spoke last time. So this is the book club cardigan. Here's what it looks like. I decided to go with some Valley yarn that I already had, and it is a worsted weight. And oh no, I didn't go with Valley yarn. I apologize. I went with Knit Picks. I went with a worsted weight. It's a Peruvian Highland wool, and I got a great gauge. And oh, here it is. So that's the left front, the right front, the back. It's going to have, and you'll see this when you look at the pattern, I don't know if they call that a French seam, but the back, that you're going to see the seam lower than, it's not going to be like right on the shoulder. It's going to be like, yeah, let's see, I've got it like more like that, where you're going to see that seam in the back a little bit here. And I'm at the part now where I have connected the right front to the back, to the left front. I'm working back and forth. I'm on a size 6 needle. I'm enjoying it. I am using my Knit Companion for the pattern. I think that's a good idea. I did read through the entire pattern first before I started. I had also seen several people, including Morgan Unraveled, her podcast, and I am thrilled with my color choice. This is Holly Berry. And I don't know if you noticed, but I'm using my little bumblebee and my little daisy stitch markers. I told you I had bees on my mind. So this is coming along pretty nicely, and you know, it's a very, I think, manageable pattern. You've got a moss stitch, you've got this cable, which after a while you really even need the pattern. I'm not using a cable needle. You've got this diamond pattern that has a seed stitch in the middle, and you're back to that cable. So there's definitely some repetitiveness, and you can just get a nice rhythm with it. Now, I do find I'm not enjoying working on it at night. I don't have the greatest light in our house, so it's been a morning or an afternoon knit for me. And as you can see up in my studio, I have abundant light. So that's how this is working, and I'm very pleased with this. And it's gonna be another cardigan. It's gonna have pockets. I probably will put buttons on this. It's a little bit more of a rustic look. This is, I don't know how I would describe this. It's more of a flowy. I have a blue and white dress that I even thought it's kind of like a Doris Day. My husband calls it the Doris Day dress. It's got kind of a full skirt, and I think it would even be pretty over a dress. But anyway, cardigans, got cardigans on the mind. So if you're thinking about making a cardigan, I would check out either the Knitting for Olive, the Olive Cardigan, or the Book Club Cardi by Sari Norland. Okay, so what's on the needles? I showed this to you last time. I was almost done. All I had to do was pick up the stitches for the collar and to knit to sew up the underarms. This is the boyfriend sweater, which isn't really the boyfriend sweater. It's the name that I gave it. I do believe it's called the, I'll have to put that, I'll put that here. And I talked about this in my last episode. I made the sweater with the Taki Yarns Donegal Tweed. Homespun. It was on sale at Webb's. I made it in this gorgeous blue tweed. I'm showing you some photos of me wearing this. I love it. And if you remember the story, I call it the boyfriend sweater because I had made this when I was in my 20s in a soft green Donegal tweed, and I wore it on my first official date with my husband, which was an afternoon luncheon date, and I wore it with jeans and boots. And I just always associate this pattern with one of the best, times in my life, and it continued because I married that man. So anyway, this is the magazine that I got it from. A couple of you have asked me about it. I know that you can find it on eBay, and I think even on Amazon. It's the Ship's Wool Journal 50. It was winter, and it was 80s, it was the 80s, so it was a lot of big, I'll give you an idea. But you know what? It's all coming back around, isn't it? So if you do decide to make this and you need any help, just, give me a comment, reach out to me on Instagram or on YouTube. There is, I think that I just heard about this from another knitter as well, that Danish knitters, Norwegian knitters mostly, grew up knitting. They grew up knitting as children, their grandmothers, their mother, and so they don't need as much explanation as maybe we in the US do. So a pattern that may have been, in this case, it wasn't even a full page. It was half a page and then maybe, a couple of inches. It's all written out. There are no charts. There's no real huge discussion about, it even says when it comes time to put a stitch marker to just put a little piece of yarn, tie a piece of yarn into a circle. And they don't even reference stitch markers. So I don't know if that was due to translation or once again, because people in that part of the country just know how to knit. They don't need a lot of explanation. So if you decide to make this and you want a little help, reach out to me. The pattern was designed to be made in pieces. I made it in the round. It was pretty easy for me to come up with that. How many stitches were going to be on the front, how many on the back. Okay, do that in the round. This is reverse stocking knit. When you get to, the underarm, how many did they tell you to decrease for the front? How many did they tell you to decrease for the back? Now put a marker in between and do your decreases. And then, you know, the same thing with the sleeve, you'll have to figure out because I made the sleeve in the round. So I know how to do it. It's only written in one size. I think that's another thing that might be typical of some of these older patterns. We did not have a lot of drafting going on. We did not have a lot of size inclusivity going on. But it's a large pattern you're seeing from the photos that I'm showing you right now. There's a lot of room, a lot of positive ease. I do believe it was designed to be made in a 6 and 7, and I went to a 7/8. I'm glad I did. The 8 gave me a little bit more room. Keep that in mind when you buy your yarn, that you're going to want some extra yarn if you do that. I think this is one of the most beautiful patterns I've made as far as this texture, the Donegal Tweed, and the wonderful memories of that date with my husband. Okay, so what else is going on? Well, I did buy some Lopi. I'm not ready to put that on the needles yet. I wanted to share a little bit more of my favorite things with you. This is the time of year that I want to make soups and stews and chilies. And I did make this chicken chili recipe. It's an Ina Garten recipe. I'm going to include the recipe in my show notes because it is if you like not too spicy, but if you like a little spice and you want something a little bit more healthy, maybe you don't want to use ground beef or you know, chuck roast, I do recommend this recipe. You're going to roast these chicken breasts. They're going to be split chicken breasts with the skin on and the bone in. You're going to roast those in the oven while you prepare the rest of the chili items up top on your stove top. And so when you take the skin off and you debone it and you cut it into chunks, it's going to be so moist. And you really, this chili is better, you know, like most chilies, days after you make it. So, you know, that chicken stays tender right till the very end of the pot. So I will include that. I don't know if you love Caspians as much as my husband and I do, but we can't get enough peppers. So I put, you know, red peppers and yellow peppers, and I put a jalapeno in there, and I put cayenne pepper and chili powder and crushed red pepper. So a nice, hearty, warm, spicy bowl of chili this time of year. I love that. We did have some company since I last spoke. A friend of mine who I was in middle school with, and we hadn't really seen each other for years other than, you know, a few minutes at our class reunions here and there. And we reconnected, and she came out to the island. And when I said to her, you know, what do you want to do? What do you want to do when you're out here? And she said, the only thing I really want to do is spend time with you and get some driftwood. So I'm going to show you just a little video footage of the west side of the island. And I don't always take you there. So this is not a sandy beach. This is a pebbly beach. It's the west side. It looks out towards southern Rhode Island and Connecticut. And we get a lot of driftwood on this beach because when the storms come through, and if branches or trees go down across in Rhode Island or Connecticut, they end up washing up on this side of the beach. You'll even see a big lobster pot washed up. So it was the perfect place to take my friend and do a little walking and talk and pick up some beautiful stones and some driftwood. And I'm showing you a picture of our day together. Hi, Rhoda. Loved spending time with you. And then our friends who live on the Cape came out for a couple of days, and we had a wonderful time with them. We got out for a lunch, we had some sushi, and I made that big pot of chicken chili so that we could enjoy it with our friends. And we sat in the dining room, and I made a nice light salad, and we had that chicken chili and peach cobbler. And even my mom said, you know, what did you talk about? Well, what didn't we talk about? We can talk about anything. These are the kind of friends that actually, we don't even always need to say all the words. My friend and I can just, you know, I'll say, and she goes, and we know exactly what we mean. But as far as two couples together, we can talk about anything. We vacation with each other in the winter, and we spent some time in the summer, either on the Cape or here on Block Island. So hi, Mary Lou and Rich. Thanks for making the trip out. It was wonderful. We can't wait to see you again on the Cape. Okay, so as far as knitting goes, I am going to continue to work on my book club cardi. I'm thinking about getting ready to work on my Lopi. I'm looking forward to blocking and wearing my boyfriend's sweater. I'm just going to hold off on my buttons for now. And I did also have my husband take some photos of me wearing the Ingrid sweater. You remember this? I've shown it to you a few times. I'll reference the episodes where I talked about it. blocking this sweater really made all the difference. And I've seen this on some other podcaster sites that, oh, if you're worried about when you're knitting this, if you think it's going to be, those rib stitches are going to look like they're pulling in. Once you block this, I did not pin it. I just laid it flat on my blocking mat. I just, I use a lavender scented wool wash. I use Eculon. You don't have to rinse that out. I soaked this for a half hour. I mean, I don't have a problem soaking. I've soaked things for 45 minutes if I really wanted those fibers to get relaxed, and I did with this. I let it go a half hour in tepid water. I don't mind if it's a little warm, especially with this. And I let it sit. I, squeezed, not wringed, squeezed out as much of the water as possible. I gently get it out of the basin. You don't want, your arm to be hanging, because this is how things can get stretched out. I know some people have used something like a colander, which is not a bad idea, or a salad spinner. That's not a bad idea. But I just kind of press it against the sink. I gently make sure I have it all. I pick it up. I put it on a beach towel. I lay it flat. I roll it. I step on it. I may have to do that twice with 2 different towels, depending on how much I was able to get out. I lay it on my blocking mat. I just lightly pat. If there's an area that I'm concerned about, which in this case, the only area I wanted to make sure didn't pull in was the final rib, because we went from a 2x2 to a 1x1. I may have put a pin or 2 here and here. Actually, when I show you the photo of me blocking it, you may see that I might have done that. This is a fabulous, fabulous pattern. It was my first sweater designed by petiteknit, and I will definitely be making another one. So that's where I am with my knitting. I'm going to share some of my walk with you, because I mentioned those chestnut pods last time we spoke, but I didn't show them to you, so I wanted to show you these beautiful chestnut pods and my walk through the goldenrod. And also, because it's been so windy, my husband and I were walking the beach and we saw something in the sky. And I said, oh my goodness, what is that? It looks like a boat. And sure enough, it's a tall ship kite. And I'm going to leave you with some of that footage. Happy September, my friends, and happy knitting. Bye.